ship to go to a trip, or my house when I decide to take a residence. I shall choose my death when I depart from life. Lucius Seneca. Good morning. My name is Daniela Castro, and we are going to talk about euthanasia, or mercy killing, as it calls. Euthanasia is the definition of euthanasia is the painless killing of a patient that has a very painful disease or irreversible coma. Nowadays, a lot of patients are suffering from illness and trying to struggle with it, but they don't have they can choose about living or with this disease, or like choosing a better life. The purpose of this debate is to talk about four main aspects and the pros and cons of euthanasia. We're going to talk about four perspectives: scientific, religious, legal, and ethical. We're going to start with scientific perspective. Martin?
Well, in favor of mercy killing or euthanasia, in the scientific point of view, we can say that nowadays there are a lot of terminal pathologies that have no cure, or that they only have a palliative treatment, such as different types of cancer that surviving rates are minimum and have numerous side effects, the treatment and the symptoms that cause excruciating pain and many symptoms that affect the patient's quality of life. Also, there are other pathologies like sclerosis or lateral amyotrophic sclerosis, which the patient is paralyzed. It cannot move any muscle of its body. It can only breathe or have a heart rate because of the machine, and they only need life support so they could stay alive. And this also makes a great depression in the patient because its mind is fully functional, but he cannot move or express any feeling. Also, from the scientific point of view, the medicine that we have nowadays to relieve the pain of the terminal patients are not so advanced and don't take away completely the pain. And also they have numerous side effects. Some of the sedatives or the painkillers that they use to treat patients with cancer or terminal illness have numerous side effects, such as hypotension that could lead to death. So even the medication we have now can shorten the patient's lifespan even more than if we use mercy killing. Also, if the medication or the sedatives that we give to the patients will lead them to a drug state that is also not dignified for living, or the life quality is very poor. All this also has a great effect on the family, because all the medical costs and of the treatment and the machines and the ventilators needed to give life support are very expensive and could also devastate the family because of the high medical costs.
Okay, thank you, Martin.
Well, nowadays there are very diseases that have high rate of mortality. Well, but what about in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Right now, if you're sick and the research of medical treatment is at peak right now, so if you are a patient that have a current disease that you're going to die eventually, and because of the research of medical treatments, they will guarantee you that in so many years, in 5 years, there will be a cure of that disease. Will you keep trying to keep living with your pain and all this stuff? Well, we have not been in this situation, but most of the patients that have been with a disease that have to get the euthanasia as an option, well, they will keep trying to live themselves until the medical treatment arrives. Well, I'm against about euthanasia because it's the easiest way, kill the patient. What about the continuous research? Imagine in 30 years, there is a specific cancer, I don't know, whatever cancer, and because there is no treatment, we're going to kill every patient. The research, they are going to be stopped, and there are not going to be any curing for their investigations. So the purpose of the medicals is to cure people, not to kill them. So we need these patients, we need to keep them alive, to keep the research. And for example, there is a case in Mexico that there was a patient that has been like 2 years in coma, and suddenly, with the act of God, just woke up. So imagine if we have killed this patient a year ago. Well, that's really a bad decision. So imagine all the lives that can be saved with just taking the right decision of keeping them alive just a few years until new treatments arrive.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I think that scientific investigation is a very good option for the cure, for finding a cure of different pathologies that nowadays doesn't have a cure. But I also think that there are several ways in making scientific investigation, not with live patients that face day-to-day excruciating pain and they don't have any treatment that will lower the suffering. I think that that type of investigation should be performed at laboratories with models or with genetics modification so that the patient doesn't suffer, continue suffering from their illness.
Very good. Now we are going to talk about religious perspective.
Well, there are so many religions, but the main purpose of all religions is not about believing in a mighty God. Most of the religions live in a normal person, but the Christian believes in God. Well, as most of Mexico are Christians. Well, the religion tell us that our life is not, we are not owner of our lives. We did not create life like giving birth sons or daughters. We procreate. Only God has the power to create life. So because of that, we don't have the right to destroy or to create a life. We can't play to be God. Only God can decide if you live or die. If everybody knows the history of Christianism, Jesus died for us. He suffered. He passed through several. He suffered a lot during his death. So that's a metaphor that tells us that we suffer for a reason. God have a plan for us. So if He decides to us to suffer, we have to keep that plan and not blame God destroying that plan.
Okay, thank you.
Well, also in the Bible, in the Christian Bible, the sixth commandment says that thou shalt not kill. This implies that the act of killing will be committed with violence, or it will be a criminal act, and the victim will be a person that has a life worth living. Mercy killing is a death where the recipient believes their life isn't worth living. when the Bible was written, no, there was not a comfortable way to induce death. Also, when in past times, there could not you could not give life support to a person that had terminal illness, and it would be she or he would have been dead in months, and his life would not be able to be prolonged. I think that God made a person so he could live, but he didn't make us to live by a machine or a ventilator. So I think that when a patient is in palliative treatments or is only life support, I think he or she has already passed away, and only the machine is preserving a body, because the brain functions or the emotions are all dead. Only the instinct of the body tries to keep living with the help of the machines in the life support.
Okay. Well, how about the ethical perspective now?
Well, in the ethical perspective, I think that every patient, every patient internationally have patient rights. That is the freedom of choice, the right to control their own body and their life. I think that the state should not create laws that compromise this decision about or having the right, as you have the right to live, also the right to die, and the patient should decide if he or she continues or not with the treatment, although this will indicate death, but we cannot feel or have the same condition that the patient is going through, and he must have the freedom to choose if he continues with the treatment that only will prolongate his suffering, because many patients that are in this condition don't have a cure, or stop the treatment and have a fine death, or he could manage the process of his death, making it faster so he could not suffer or have a false hope that he will be cured.
Okay, thank you.
About ethical, like I said before, medic cures, doctors cures on kill. Well, in different countries, the situation of the euthanasia is very different. So, for example, imagine a world where the euthanasia is legal. In countries where the euthanasia is legal, people without reason or having a killing disease comes to the hospitals, to the doctors to kill themselves. Please, doctor, give me a pill because I don't want to live anymore. So imagine a society where the permission of kill yourself is allowed. The society is not normal. We're supposed to live. It's not the plan of our life is to end it by itself as a nature or an accident or something, not because of our own decision. Like I said before, people just arrive killing themselves. Imagine all the doctors not doing their job, just giving them a pill to kill themselves. Besides of that, imagine all the family, the problems family. Like we said before, these are comes to many problems, like economical problems, all the arguing between the families to decide if we kill the patient or not is not it makes more problem that we just simply just ignore the euthanasia and put it as illegal than making legal. We avoid all that situations. The families don't have to worry about killing or not. They just keep following a rule, the government rule. So I think it makes more problem to the society, moral, making the euthanasia legal than stay like nowadays, illegally. I mean, it's many people think that you can justify the means, like end the suffering, but killing a person has never been an option, just only at wars nowadays. But I think most of the people don't think that what I said before, the end then justify the means. They don't believe in that.
From the legal point of view, nowadays internationally passive euthanasia is legal in our country, in Mexico City and in 2 different states, the state of Michoacán and Aguascalientes. And passive euthanasia is not one of the different types of euthanasia, but there are 2 main types, passive and active euthanasia. Passive is when the patient denies or decides to stop the treatment that will prolong his life. This is passive euthanasia, and active euthanasia is giving a drug that actually interferes with the vital functions and kills the patient. Passive euthanasia is legal in Mexico, and active and passive euthanasia is being legalized in many parts of the world. To mention some of the countries that approve euthanasia are Belgium, Ireland, Luxembourg, Netherlands, some states of the USA, and India. I think that, the euthanasia is being, the legislations for approving euthanasia are increasing in different countries, and with the scientific support are making it more propense to approve this type of laws that make the patient decide and have freedom of choice. I also think that depending on the context of the patient, or only by certain circumstances, the patient or the euthanasia will be a good option for the patient.
Well, like the countries you mentioned before, I'm going to talk about Netherlands. Well, in Netherlands, since 1993, the euthanasia was legal. Nowadays, it has increased 73% of the deaths by euthanasia. Imagine a world where suddenly everybody has the option of killing themselves. Well, they have too many paperwork, so many investigations, because in every case of euthanasia, there has to be 100% sure if it wasn't planned. I mean, if there anyone pointing a gun to their head to kill yourself by the money treatment, or your family telling you to kill yourself because we don't have the money anymore, or any other reasons. Well, like too many countries realize the euthanasia, but in Suiza, only suicides are legal, not euthanasia. So there's too many points of view of every different country, because why only suicides are allowed and not the euthanasia? So there are conflicts about countries, because the people are asking why Netherlands is allowed and why only here is suicide. Besides, there's not a specific statement of the right to die. All the constitutions all over the world say the right to live, but not the right to die. Well, right now in Mexico, like you say, the passive euthanasia, if the police catch the doctor making passive euthanasia, he got to 1 for 5 years in prison. And if the doctor killed the patient, like not giving palliative treatment, just giving a pill to end his life, and the police catch him, goes to 5 to 12 years in prison. Besides, in other countries, it's life prison.
Okay, thank you. Now to conclude, we hear a lot of valid points about supporting euthanasia and against euthanasia. But according to me, mercy killing should be a patient's personal freedom of choice, because you don't feel what they are feeling, even if you're a family of the patient or a doctor. It also, I do believe, euthanasia sometimes becomes an excuse for people to avoid suffering, but it also is the right answer for people that are living in suffering. And that's why I think euthanasia should be, it's a supporting thing to do. But I will leave you with your own decision with this question. Which is better, suffering, agonizing, and holding into life for a short period of time, or just being laid to rest in peace? Thank you.